Call order of a special meeting of the Goodyear City Council, 18 December 2006. Would you join Vice Mayor Cavalier in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation, please?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may join us in prayer if you wish. Heavenly Father, we ask that you guide us tonight in making the best decisions for the future of our city that we can. And we want to have a special prayer tonight for the husband of Avondale, Councilwoman Lynch's husband, who passed away this morning. And also want to bring back all our men and women in the service, bring them home safely from the foreign shores where they are there to protect us from our enemies. All this we ask in your name. Amen.
Okay, thank you. Ask for acceptance of the draft minutes of a regular meeting held on 4 December 2006 and draft minutes of a regular meeting held on 11 December 2006. Any questions or comments on those? Okay, a motion to approve them. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Motion was Councilmember Souza. Second was Councilmember Lord. All those in favor signify by stating aye, please. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. We have no expenditures or communications. Opportunity now for any council member to report on current events. Seeing none, would any citizen wish to report on an item of significance in the city? Seeing none, ask for the manager's update on council-related matters.
We don't have any at this time, sir.
Okay, opportunity now for any citizen to make a comment to the council on any subject which is not on this evening's agenda. Would anyone like to make a comment on a non-agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll move right to the consent agenda, and I'll ask the city clerk to read the consent items by title only, please.
Item 8A. Council will consider for possible action adopting Resolution 06-1111, authorizing the City of Goodyear to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Maricopa County Library District for the provision of library services, providing for an effective date. Item B, Council will consider for possible action accepting the dedication of rights-of-ways and easements upon sections of Cotton Lane and Estrella Parkway, generally located along the Cotton Lane alignment from the intersection of Estrella Parkway to approximately 1/4 mile north of Estrella Parkway. Item C, Council will consider for possible action authorizing staff to enter into negotiations with HOK Sport to establish an agreed-upon scope and fee for professional services for the design of the Goodyear Sports and Recreation Campus. Item D, Council will consider authorizing staff to enter into negotiations with Martin Maylow Company to establish an agreed-upon scope and fee to provide design phase, pre-construction services, and complete construction services for the Goodyear Sports and Recreation Campus.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone in the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Anyone on council wish to remove an item from consent? Seeing none, could I have a roll call vote?
Motion to accept the consent agenda A through D as read by the clerk.
Second.
A motion from Councilmember Scott, a second from Vice Mayor Cavalier. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Cavalier.
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa.
Aye.
Councilmember Antoniak.
Aye.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Lord.
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
Okay, we'll move now to the business part of our agenda and summarize quickly before we get into it as our procedure for this evening. As to our procedure for this evening, I should say. 7 items on business are related to major amendments to the general plan. Bob Coons will give an overview of the entire process, and he can come forward and do that, and then give a presentation for the first 6 of the 7. Brett Birmingham will present the last one. Following the presentation, I will then open the public hearings on each one of the 7 proposed changes to the, or amendments to the general plan. And in every case, the request is that we take action only to continue the item. The first 6 will be continued to February 12, and the last one of next year, and the last one will be continued to 8 January. Okay?
Thank you, Mayor.
Good. Thank you.
Mayor, members of the council, the city's adopted general plan provides 2 types of amendments for the general plan, major amendments and minor amendments. The general plan contains criteria which defines when is a major and when is it a minor. Basically, a major amendment to the general plan is that which generally encompasses 160 acres or larger and has a substantial effect regards to the land use pattern in the general plan. The designation of a major amendment really only affects the processing of the major amendment as compared to minor amendment. Minor amendments are processed in a similar manner as rezoning. The state law requires a particular process for major amendments to the general plan. The statutes require that all major amendments to the general plan be presented at a single public hearing before the city council within a calendar year that they are filed. The rationale for that is that for council to view these major amendments in the totality in a big picture rule, to see them all one time to determine the impact on the city's general plan, rather than individually at single public hearings throughout the calendar year. State law also requires the major amendments to be considered by the Planning Commission at least 2 public hearings and at 2 different locations in the city, which is different than a normal minor amendment or a rezoning. And finally, the state law requires that the adoption of major amendments be by affirmative vote of 2/3 of the city council rather than a simple majority. In April and May of this year, staff began the annual process to receive applications for major amendments from property owners and other interested parties. A total of 7 major amendments were subsequently filed for consideration. All of these 7 major amendments are in the South Goodyear planning area. I'm going to briefly go through and describe those. Before I describe those, though, I want to give you a little bit of background of where the review and consideration of the general plans have been with the Planning Commission and staff. To date, the Planning Commission has conducted 1 workshop session, 2 notice public hearings in different locations in the city. And in the case of Sonoran Valley General Plan Amendment, there was an additional public hearing that was held in the Mobile community. Initially, through the early review process, staff identified a potential issue relative to these applications that was a bit unrelated to the land use proposals they had. As I'll describe, most of the general plan amendments also proposed major changes to arterial street system network within the South Goodyear area. And those proposed street alignments were not necessarily consistent or coordinated among the applications. Staff contracted with RBF Consulting to assist the city in looking at the overall circulation plan for the South Goodyear area and to provide coordination of these street networks and to work cooperatively with staff as well as the applicants on an overall plan, circulation plan for the area. This has delayed the final consideration of these amendments by the Planning Commission for 6 of the items. The draft circulation plan was prepared. A number of meetings have been held with all of the applicants for the general plan amendments. And to date, we believe that about 90–95% of the issues and concerns have been resolved, but we have a few remaining items that we still need to resolve prior to Planning Commission's action on the 6 items, which we hope to resolve in the next few weeks. At the last Planning Commission meeting on November 29th for the general plan amendments, the Commission took action to continue the 6 items to their meeting of January 17th. On the 29th, the Commission continued the Sonoran Valley General Plan Amendment to their meeting of December 13th, and on December 13th last week, the Commission took action to recommend its approval. Regarding the six, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the six general plan amendments in the South Goodyear area, and then Brett Birmingham is going to give you a more detail regards to the seventh item, which is Sonoran Valley. Item A on your agenda is a request by Newland Communities and Sun MP, basically within the Estrella Mountain Ranch master planned area. This general plan amendment is a request to alter the proposed street alignments, major street alignments within the area, and to provide a defined routing alignment for the Loop 303. There are no proposed land use changes within this general plan amendment. Staff and continues to work with Newland Communities regards to that street alignment proposal. We believe we have all our issues resolved except for one. We hope to do that within the next few weeks. The item B on your agenda is a request by, entitled Triple Siete. This item is a proposed land use changes and street alignments on approximately 1,000 acres for a master plan development entitled Rainbow Ranch. It is bound by Willis Road on the north, Rainbow Road on the east, Queen Creek on the south, and Perryville on the west. The proposed general plan amendment is to change the current land uses of low and medium density residential to a mixture of land uses, including single-family residential of different densities, medium, high density, and some commercial land use. Item C on your agenda is a request by McCray Holdings. This is a request to expand the city's planning area and establish land uses on approximately 2,500 acres. It is located west of 207th Avenue alignment and south of Pecos Road. This is a request for low-density residential, medium-density residential within this area, and the remainder to remain rural residential. Item D on your agenda is also a request by McCray Holdings. This is the proposed land use changes and some major street alignments on approximately 1,400 acres. This is located west of Perryville Road and south of Ocotillo Road. And it is a request to change the existing general plan from rural residential to single-family residential with small portions of commercial and multifamily residential. Item E on your agenda is also by McCray Holdings. This proposed land use change and major street alignments on 3 parcel groupings within the South Goodyear area. This is on 78 acres at the northeast corner of Chandler Heights and Sadia Road, 555 acres on Rainbow Valley Road between Chandler Heights and Ocotillo Road, and 235 acres on the northeast corner of 155th Avenue on Riggs Road. This is a combination of a change from rural residential and low-density residential to a mixture of residential and commercial land uses. And item F on your agenda is a request by Ariad Inc. This is proposed land use changes and major street alignments on approximately 2,400 acres for a master development entitled Madera. This is located at Chandler Heights Road on the north, Patterson Road on the south, Waterman Wash on the east, and 175th Avenue on the west. This is from rural residential to a mixture of residential land use densities, commercial, public, and open space. That's the 6 general plan amendments within the South Goodyear area. I'm going to ask Brett Birmingham to give you a brief presentation of the 7th one, which is the Sonoran Valley.
Thank you. Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, members of the public. I first have a regional context exhibit that I wanted to show to help orient the Sonoran Valley General Plan Amendment. You can see in this exhibit, it shows the City of Goodyear's current municipal limits in yellow. You can see Goodyear's planning boundary has a dotted line, a dotted purple line, and you can see the heavy black line that encompasses the area around Mobile is the Sonoran Valley General Plan Amendment. Its eastern boundary is the Maricopa County, Pinal County line, and you can see within that context the Sonoran Desert National Monument, the Sierra Estrella Wilderness Area. You can see Buckeye's planning boundary to the west, and as well as Avondale's planning boundary to the north and northeast. To provide some background, as the council is aware, this began with Elliott Homes assembling a very large amount of property for a master plan development. And Montage purchased 690 acres during the same time. On September 12, 2006, Montage then purchased all of Elliott Homes' property, and the developers began working with Maricopa County on a land use plan, and the city and the developer began discussions about future service needs, and these talks turned to inclusion into Goodyear's planning boundary so that it could be built up to city standards and be serviced by the city of Goodyear. And so the developers desired to be included in a Goodyear's planning boundary. So the city initiated this general plan amendment. And as the council is aware, the city hosted a meeting in the Mobile area. Approximately 120 people came out, and the city, as well as representatives from Montage, talked to individuals out there about the general plan amendment process and about annexation and answered questions. This is a large area that we're talking about, and I've got some maps and some numbers that I want to show you here in a minute, but a lot of people have asked, why would Goodyear want to take on this large 95 square mile area? And the first item that we've noted in the staff report is to assure quality development to the south. We have Estrella Mountain Ranch. We have a great deal of investment that the development community and the city has made. Another reason is to provide a roadway south of Goodyear to eliminate the cul-de-sac problem that we currently face at the Patterson Road area. Also to provide for and protect a corridor for the future 303 freeway and for a possible connection to Interstate 8. And last but not least, to maintain open space for public use and migratory paths for wildlife. I noted before that this application is situated within the Sonoran Desert National Monument to its west, and also the Sierra Estrella Wilderness Area to the northeast. So there's some great opportunities to preserve that corridor for wildlife. Now talking about some numbers, Goodyear's current planning area is 135 square miles. The Sonoran Valley General Plan Amendment contains 95 square miles. So it would expand Goodyear's planning area to 230 square miles. In addition, you can see that it would substantially increase Goodyear's build-out total by adding approximately 240,000 additional residential units. This exhibit shows this exhibit shows ownership, and you can see that the blue areas are owned by the state land, the grays are private, and the green is federal land, or the BLM. So you can see that the majority of this application is actually BLM property. Private ownership is about 40%, and the state land department has almost 9% of the land in this 60,000 acres. And here's a summary of the land use. You can see that there is a a great deal of residential employment and particularly support uses. Specifically, you can see 47% or 28,000 acres is open space, and you saw in the exhibit that the majority of that is all BLM property. In the meetings that we've had, staff has explained that growth must pay for growth, so that the current residents aren't going to be negatively impacted by this large area that is being proposed to be added to Goodyear's planning boundary. And the way that the city can do that is through impact fees, through development agreements, and it also, Goodyear has an opportunity to engage in some alternative public safety models that Goodyear hasn't had an opportunity to work on thus far. In addition, it is obvious that we do need a regional road. We need to connect this future development to the city of Goodyear. And this will need to be done through a partnership. Moving on to the land use map, this is a very large area, and in the next two slides we'll focus in first on the northern conglomeration of parcels, which is the state land piece, and then the southern piece, or the montage piece. But you can see, I've got a pointer here, I will try to keep my hand steady for the people in the public. The county line is here. Highway 238 is this line here. You can see that the 303, this red line, the proposed alignment of the 303 there. Patterson Road would be the northern edge of the boundary. Again, the Sonoran Desert National Monument is in this area, as well as the Sierra Estrella Wilderness area in this area here. Zoomed in on the land use parcel, you can see that the proposed location of the 303 is included in this parcel. You can see there's a variety of different residential land uses. Residential is shown in yellows, oranges, and kind of the tannish colors. Industrial is shown in purple, and commercial is shown in reds. Moving on to the montage component of the land use plan, again, a variety of land uses. You can see the purple area, which includes the Butterfield landfill, waste management's current landfill. The land use planning for this area is based on a village concept. You can see that there are commercial areas, and then there are complementary land uses that kind of radiate out from that. So you can see that the developer would like to build a series of villages so that surrounding areas would be able to take advantage of the commercial and mixed-use commercial components. And in conclusion, I wanted to talk about the meetings that we've had. We've had a lot of meetings, and there's been a lot of input. We included in your packet a list of all the comments, all the formal comments that we've received, both in the 60-day review period and also to date from the many different property owners. Through the public process, staff has made minor adjustments to the land use plan, tried to accommodate the property owners. There are three items that I wanted to note that were discussed at the last Planning Commission meeting. You can see we had 4 commission meetings. I will just note 3 at the last Planning Commission hearing. And the first one was from Newland Communities, and Newland Communities expressed some concern about the specific location of an arterial roadway, and I'm going to move to Elmo. I'm going to focus in on the state land piece. You can see to the north of this, you can see the arterial roadways. We've just placed an arrow on there, and Newland Communities expressed some concern about where those roadways are going to be precisely located in the future. And at the public hearing, staff noted that we're at the general plan stage, and the general plan is used to evaluate future zoning requests. Mr. Coons noted that we are still working on some transportation and traffic studies. we don't know the precise location of where these arterial roadways are going to go, and we will not until we have specific development plans for the area. But right now, for the purposes of the general plan, this is appropriate, and any minor changes that are still in keeping with the spirit of what's shown here can be accommodated through the PAD process when future development plans are brought forward to the city and to the council. I'm going to move on to a different area here. The next area that I want to talk about is, you can see my pen here at Honeycutt Road in section 24. We're at Honeycutt Road in between 75th Avenue. We had some discussions with the property owner who owns this piece of property here, and the property owner had some concerns that the roadway curved up and went through their property, and the property owner recommended that the roadway stay on the section line, and staff is working with the owner to try to accommodate the property owner's desires. Staff would like the roadway to move to the section line, so we need to make sure that with the geographic features of the area that will work. So that is one thing that we talked about at the Planning Commission. The final thing that I'll note is this area here, northeast corner of 99th Avenue and Steen Road. I drew a little black square in there. Property owner in this area desired that square be commercial, and staff did not believe that was an appropriate area for commercial development, given the specific location. It is adjacent to two arterial roadways, but given the side of the street that it's on, and also its surrounding area, it's surrounded completely by very rural residential uses, and there also are staff believes that there's an adequate amount of commercial already provided in this area. So wanted to make you aware of 3 issues that were discussed, and that concludes my remarks. I'll turn it back to Mr. Kuhn.
Council, very briefly to wrap up staff's presentation, I want to take a minute for the public and other interested parties, talk a little bit about the difference between general plan, annexation, and rezonings. As council knows, that the adoption of the general plan amendments, will only define the planned recommended land use in the area. It is not annexation of the property, and it is not rezoning the property. Annexation, general plan are 2 separate processes. They can be sometimes concurrently, sometimes independently, but one does not impact the other. If a property is annexed, the properties would then assume the equivalent city zoning to that of the existing county zoning for that area. And then the property owner themselves later on would come in and seek rezoning of the properties to a higher city classification consistent with the general plan. So that's a tie-in relative to the general plan, but general plan is not annexation and it's not zoning. Again, as the mayor indicated earlier tonight, council will conduct its public hearing for the consideration of proposed amendments as required by law at a single public hearing. As the Planning Commission has not yet taken action and made a recommendation on the first 6 general plan amendments, the Planning Commission will take those items up on January 17th at their next regular meeting. Therefore, staff's recommending that the public hearing and consideration of those 6 items be continued to your February 12th meeting. On the 7th item, the Sonoran Valley, the Planning Commission has taken action and has recommended approval on December 13th of that Sonoran Valley General Plan Amendment. So staff's recommendation is you conduct the public hearing, continue the consideration to your January 8th meeting. Mayor, Council, that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions now in regards to the process. Staff is available during the individual public hearings to answer any detailed questions.
Okay, thank you. We have 7 suggested major amendments to the general plan. Each one will be handled independently from hereafter during this meeting, and I will open a public meeting on each one independently. The staff presentation has been given on all seven. Once I open the public meeting, I will ask for any input from the applicant, then the citizens. We'll then take a motion to continue the public hearing to the dates previously mentioned, and to help maybe the planning and zoning and to resolve any questions our council may have at this time. I'm going to give the opportunity for council to ask questions or during each independent presentation. I would add, though, that this is one of two opportunities. If any applicant does not wish to speak tonight and wishes to hold his or her comments until later, they're welcome to do that. If, however, the fact that they abstain from doing it when their opportunity is given to them tonight, if tonight there are questions concerning that specific amendment and that applicant would like to present, then that applicant may do so at a later time during this meeting, okay? So abstaining, giving away that opportunity initially, you still have the opportunity to recover it later during the meeting if you so wish, okay? And again, this is only one of two opportunities for you anyway. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing for a request by Newland Communities and Sun MP for a major amendment to the general plan to alter the proposed alignments for the Loop 303 freeway and several arterials within the southern portion of the Goodyear planning area. Ask for public comments, starting with the applicant.
Thank you, Mayor. Ed Bull, 702 East Osborne, representing Newland and Sun MP. I will be as brief as you and your council allows me to be. Quick overview, as was indicated, our general plan amendment is focused solely on circulation within Estrella Mountain Ranch, and then, of course, as it leaks out into surrounding areas. We began that process by filing a fairly detailed general plan amendment application, including a map. We worked with staff. We had a neighborhood meeting. We participated in every planning commission workshop or study session or hearing that had to do with the various general plan amendments. We attended the RBF meeting where this booklet with various comments was submitted. In response, we submitted a letter that detailed various issues and suggested solutions and a corresponding map. And we again participated in the Planning Commission hearing to discuss those types of things. Long and short of it is, as staff indicated, most all issues have been resolved one way or the other through moving this or moving that or moving the other thing. We will continue to work with staff and RBF and other interested parties coming back through the commission hearing in January and your council hearing in February, hoping we can stand here saying we agree. Having said that, it's my impression I can sit down and recognize that if there's questions, we'll deal with them tonight. If there's neighbors who choose to speak, I'd hope I'd be given a minute to respond to whatever neighbors may have to say this evening. And we can be back here in February, as I say. I hope being able to say we agree, or if necessary, making a more detailed presentation then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And you'll be given those opportunities. Comments from the public. Again, this is 9 Alpha. It's the request by Newland Communities and Sun MP for amendment related to Loop 303 and proposed arterial alignment.
Mayor, members of the council, good evening. Felipe Zubia, 4800 North Scottsdale Road. I'm here on behalf of William Lyon Homes. With me this evening is Dean Pearson of CMX. We're just here to voice our concerns over the current alignment on the 303. We're working with the adjacent neighbors to come up with a mutually agreeable alignment. We've had some successful meetings in the past. We hope to come to you holding hands here in the near future. With that in mind, I just want to kind of put those comments on the record and note of our concerns at this time.
Okay, thank you. And if any council member wishes to be more detailed on that, you'll have that opportunity. Further comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll close that public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion to continue this item to the February 12th council meeting.
So moved.
Second. Motion from Councilmember Scott and second from Councilmember Antoniak. Are there any comments, questions from council? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of postponing to continuing this to 12 February signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is continued to 12 February. We'll go to B on our agenda, and I'll open the public hearing. Request by Triple Cite. Is that correct? Siete. Okay. For a mate. Last time we'll ask the question. Okay. Triple Siete. Okay. For a major amendment to the general plan to alter the land use configuration in the Rainbow Valley Plan community. Open the public hearing, if I haven't already, and ask for public comment, starting with the applicant.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, for your record, my name is Mike Curley, 3101 North Central. Mr. Mayor, you must have taken French in high school. I'm going to be even briefer than Ed. I'm here on items B through E. I'm prepared to answer any questions you have. We've been working with staff and look forward to continuing working with them. If you have any questions on any of them, I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 9B, comments open to the public. Any public comments? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion to continue to February 12th.
So moved.
Motion from Councilmember Souza, a second from Councilmember Antoniak. Are there any comments, questions from council? Okay, all those in favor signify by stating aye, please. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Open a public hearing for a request by McRae Holdings for a major amendment to the general plan to facilitate future zoning and development of 2,554 acres, generally located west of 207th Avenue and south of Pecos Road. Opportunity for the applicant. Comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion to continue to February 12th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Scott, and second from Councilmember Holland. Comments, questions, council? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 7-0. Open a public hearing for request by McRae Holdings for a major amendment to the general plan to facilitate future zoning and development of 1,400 acres generally located west of Perryville Road and south of Ocotillo Road. I've opened the public hearing. Opportunity for the applicant. Opportunity for the applicant. Public comment. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and call for a motion to continue to February 12th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Vice Mayor Cavalier and a second from Councilmember Scott. Open for discussion or question. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Open a public hearing for request by McRae Holdings for a major amendment to the general plan to facilitate future zoning and development of approximately 867 acres and 3 parcel groupings in the South Goodyear area. Opportunity for the applicant. Seeing none, opportunity for the public to comment. Close the public hearing. Call for a motion to continue to 12 February.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Scott and a second from Councilmember Antoniak. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Open a public hearing for request by Ariad Incorporated for a major amendment to the general plan to facilitate future zoning and development for a mix of residential, commercial, and open space land uses on approximately 2,363 acres, generally located between Chandler Heights and Patterson Road, and between Waterman Wash and 175th Avenue. Opportunity for the applicant, Ariad. Oh, Dustin?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Dustin Jones, One Arizona Center, on behalf of the developer area development on this project. As was stated, we anticipated a continuance until February. We have also, just as a reminder, last week you heard our had the first public hearing on the annexation for the same development. So the annexation has gone before you. We're in that process of working and getting our petitions filed. The general plan will come back to you in February, and hopefully within the first quarter we'll be submitting our PAD zoning application. Entertain any questions at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing And call for a motion to continue to February 12.
So moved.
Motion from Councilmember Scott and a second from Councilmember Antoniak. Comments, questions from council? Seeing none, ask for a vote. All those in favor signify by stating aye, please. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Open a public hearing for a request by the City of Goodyear for a major amendment to the general plan to facilitate the zoning and development of portions of an area encompassing approximately 95 square miles south of the city's existing southern planning area. Opportunity for public comments.
Mr. Mayor,
Anyone?
we have 3 speaker cards.
Okay. Would you call each one, please?
Yes, Ed Bull,
You want me to speak now or after Garth or someone makes the applicant's presentation?
Okay.
Which would you
Let's go with the applicant.
make sense?
Mr. Mayor, technically the city is the applicant, but I'm happy to come back at a later point and answer questions in the whole. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you have a card on Garth, D?
no.
No, okay. That's fine. Comments, any other comments in favor of the amendment to the general plan and future annexation? Comments in favor? Okay. Mr. Horstman?
Mayor, members of the council, Dave Horstman, 15735 West Fairmount Avenue, here in Goodyear, also chairman of the Planning Commission. I'm here speaking as an individual commissioner rather than as chairman representing the views of the entire commission. When this proposal first came to the commission, I had some very significant concerns. Primary among them were consideration of the costs involved in the development of 95 square miles, recognizing that a lot of it is public land and that it may or may not be subject to development. At our hearing at Starpoint, that major element or concern was alleviated to a great extent by a presentation by the city manager regarding how the costs of projects were going to be handled, user fees, and the cooperative efforts on the part of the developer and the city to make this project as close to a zero-sum game for the existing residents of Goodyear. There are definitely some benefits to be derived, and thinking outside the box, we've got the potential for creating an outlet to the southern side of the city down to I-8, avoiding an Ahwatukee-type cul-de-sac, which I think is critical. The City of Phoenix is paying a dear price for their lack of attention, and the fact that we're planning ahead for what is going to be an important quarter out of the city, whether it's we bring it into the city through annexation or not. It's really something that we have to pay attention to, and with the rate of growth in the Southwest Valley, I would suggest to you that this is a proposal whose time has come, and I certainly do have the little man in the back of my head saying, whoa, I hope we're right. I think we are. I think the resources behind the Montage Holdings are substantial, and hope we can develop the kind of relationship that we've had with some of the other major developers of planned communities north of I-10 and in the rest of Goodyear. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chairman Horstman. Other comments from the public in support of the general plan amendment?
Gerald Copeland,
Good evening. My name is Gerald Copeland. My address is 1310 East Puget Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona, 85020. And I'm here to represent the property owner of the northeast corner of 99th Avenue and Steen Road. This property is the southwest quarter of the southwest quarter, Section 4, Township 5 South, Range 1 East. On October the 18th, there was a planning commission meeting that didn't really happen. At that time, we submitted a letter to the commissioner staff requesting that they consider some commercial zoning on the southwest corner of the subject property. And on your screen, the Blake property is shown in a black outline in the southwest corner of that section. And you'll see it's the black outline area with a wash running right through the middle of it. Since the October meeting and a meeting we attended in early December, 40 acres of commercial was added to the very same section at the southeast quarter of that section. We feel like the concept of commercial on major street corners is well documented by the plan itself. The planning issue that we would suggest is that putting large commercial parcels, and a few of them, causes everyone to drive to the commercial area. And 40 acres is enough for a few big boxes and an ocean of asphalt. And I think we have quite a few of those around the valley. And we would suggest that some commercial zoning be placed at the corner of 99th Avenue and Steen Road to identify that major street section line corner as a location for potential commercial. Not 40 acres, not 20 acres, some reasonable amount of commercial land use that would simply reflect the reasonable use for that property. With that, I'll answer questions.
Thank you. Further comments from the public?
Dustin Jones.
Ed, as soon as you lose. Dustin Jones, with Snell and Wilmer on behalf of Waste Management, here before you to speak to you about the Butterfield landfill site. And actually, for the record, I want to clarify that our position is neither in opposition or in favor of the general plan amendment. Really, the purpose for my being here is really to educate and inform the council about the decisions that it's about to make with respect to the land use planning around the landfill. As we have done in all the other 4 meetings that have occurred over the past few months, we've attended the meeting down in Mobile. We attended the meeting that was held here before the Planning and Zoning Commission. We attended the meeting that was at Stray Mountain Ranch, and then last week when the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved the land use map that's before you, we spoke at that meeting as well. And again, the purpose being just to educate and inform the council and the public about Waste Management's operations. With me tonight is also Vince Murphy, who's the Director of Operations for the landfill, as well as 19 other sites. He oversees 19 sites within the state of Arizona, and so is intimately aware with the operations and how this landfill functions down there. What I have before you is essentially the land use map that shows where our sites are. This here is just a zoom in. The section 17 that you see there noted on the bottom is the waste management site. It's a square mile, and I highlighted it in red, as well as the full square mile that's to the north as well, to give you a perspective. Half of that section to the north, 8, is owned by Waste Management and is already permitted for a landfill. Permitted in the county through a special use permit that was a 50-year use permit for the site. Adjacent to our landfill site on Section 8 is another landfill that's not owned by Waste Management, but essentially you have 2 large landfill sites there. And again, that is a square mile. To give you some perspective, Phase 1 of Palm Valley is a full square mile. Dysart to Litchfield, Thomas to McDowell, that's a full square mile. So when you see that, you need to think of this in the context of the interest and the investment that Waste Management has for this site. It is a large operation, a large undertaking for Waste Management. It is the largest landfill in the state of Arizona, in terms of intake and capacity. And so I want to run through a few slides again that just kind of document and inform the public about what we do down there. It's a fully permitted site. As I indicated, it's permitted by the county for the use permit purposes, but also it's federally and state regulated. And Waste Management complies with all those regulations and is in good standing with the state in terms of its operations. It's been in operation since 1991. It's been down there for a long time. And during the summer, when word arose that there might be a master plan community down there, the reaction of Waste Management wasn't opposition. It was more of understanding what is going on down there and how can we best protect ourselves and help the city, who's the applicant on this application, make the best decision in terms of compatibility and planning around the landfill site. So from 1991, they've been in operation down there, and again, as I said, is the largest site. 19% of the waste in the state of Arizona arrives at this landfill. So the financial investment that has been given here is considerable. The significance to not just Goodyear and Maricopa County, but the state as a whole is significant when you think of 19% of the waste that comes in there. About 6,000 to 7,000 tons of solid waste per day arriving there. Most of the waste that arrives at this landfill comes in on Highway 238 that comes down through Maricopa and comes from sites, transfer stations, primarily in the East Valley, as far as north as Prescott even, and even from Tucson. Primarily comes through those areas. The waste that's being collected here in the city of Goodyear and in the West Valley goes up to a landfill site up in Surprise. So most of the waste is coming in from the east, coming down 238 and arriving at the landfill site. And the permit, as I said, is 50 years, but the life expectancy of a landfill is typically 50 to 75 years for a landfill site of this size. So just to give you some operations, there are about 300, some data on operations, there are about 300 to 500 trucks that come through and deliver waste at this site every single day. And it could be expected over the life of the facility, as growth continues within the valley, for that to continue to grow. Arizona is one of the fastest states in the country growing, and we all have waste. And as we continue to gather waste has to go somewhere. When you have a landfill site of this size and magnitude already intaking 19%, the potential for growth is there as well. So each day, more and more trucks going through the facility. And I'll show you the route that the trucks currently take in just a moment. So the trucks arrive, unload the waste. You can see the large earth movers and vehicles that are used to relocate the waste within the site. One thing I did not fully note to you is that the permit that is granted for the site is for 250 feet above grade. So you can imagine 250 feet above ground, and I have some slides that I'll show you in just a moment. But these trucks that you see moving, a lot of that movement is up in the air in 250 feet or slightly below that above grade. So it's not in a pit. It's not an open pit mine where you're seeing things down below only, but the permit allows for the height, and so the movement of the waste can occur above ground and is visible from those who look at it. And these are just some slides that show the maximum height and show what's out there now. And I presume that the council has taken trips down, as the Planning and Zoning Commission has, to view the site, maybe by air or by land. Here again illustrates the route that we take right now. The trucks come in from the east, go up 91st Avenue, and then come along there and enter on that southeast corner of the site. And I've noted here on the land use plan, as you make a decision about the land uses, noting where the trucks are, this 300 to 500 currently, and potentially more, how they arrive at the site from the east and going forward. Some of the considerations that we've asked the Planning and Zoning Commission staff to address as they plan for a master plan community down there is to address issues of odor, dust, litter, and noise. And of these four, noise probably being the most important issue to address, because it's something that's really very difficult to control. Particularly the trucks that will be driving down the roads. They'll be coming and going. That's the operation. It's a public road that they drive on that was built by Waste Management and then turned over to the county. And they arrive at the site, and they will continue to arrive at that site. The backup alarms on those trucks as they're moving around and facilitating the movement and collection and compaction of the dirt and the waste on the site. So there's definitely some noise considerations. We've made some recommendations to the Planning and Zoning Commission as well as to staff as we've gone through this process over the past few months. And most of those considerations have dealt with buffering and providing a limitation on residential use around the site. It was a request of Waste Management that we not have any homes, apartments, condos, or any residential within a half mile of the landfill site. And again, going back to that landfill, the map, the dark purple being the site, a half a mile buffer around that. Within that zone. And then also what we proposed within that half mile, not to have a large amount of commercial, but to have primarily light industrial or heavy industrial types of use and limited commercial within that half mile buffer around. The other request we made was that once the zoning application comes before you from Montage for the master plan community, that there be a stipulation that anyone that purchases in this area be notified, just as the city requires home builders to notify folks buying within the vicinity of the Luke Air Force Base. People are notified. We would request that the application that's approved by the city council for any zoning down here also require people to be notified that there is a landfill in full operation within the vicinity of the community. So as you can see on our land use map, we feel that the city has, the staff as well as the developer have worked very closely with us to address our concerns of buffering, and this map reflects that buffering. If you look at section 17 on the map, to the east, the light purple there is light industrial types of uses. On the south side, you see the light industrial, and to the east as well, you see the dark purple that's been noted on there that's general industrial on the western side of section 17. So we want to thank staff and thank the developer Montage for their consideration in assisting us to buffer, provide the adequate buffer for our landfill down there in this site within the mobile area. So again, appreciate the consideration. What we wanted to do also is help to visualize what people will be seeing at those half-mile points. So at this dot you see on the map here, this is on the south side. I had one of my planners go down there last week and take digital photos of the landfill so you can get a perspective of what you're seeing from this very site on the map. So looking north, you can see this is at a half mile from the site. Looking north, you can see the mound of the landfill there as well as the mountains in the background. So that's about a half mile away. And then on the western side of the landfill, similar photo taken looking east, the landfill. On the north side, looking south, the visibility of the landfill. And then from the southeast side, looking west, you can see the landfill. And this is adjacent to the road that is the current access to the site. So again, we appreciate staff's consideration. The map that you have before you was a collaborative effort of Waste Management and Montage and other stakeholders in the area. We submitted a proposed map to the city that addressed the buffering that we would like to see. This map reflects that. You'll also note on this land use map some additional details that we asked staff to put on the land use map as well. As I said, most of the waste that arrives at this site arrives by truck, but there is a portion of the waste that arrives here by rail. Along Highway 238, there is a rail line that runs through there. On this land use map, it's a bit microscopic to see, but we asked staff to include a proposed rail spur that would be coming from the rail line up to the landfill. So in the event that there is a potential to install a rail spur that would be adjacent to the site, we felt that would probably benefit the community as well to bring the waste closer to the site, because the current operations is the waste is unloaded on the rails, loaded on the trucks, and then driven up a couple miles to the site. So we asked staff to include on the land use map a rail spur that would allow for a rail to be installed there, rail spur adjacent to the site, so we could have the adjacency of the unloading of the waste from the rail onto the trucks and into the facility. Also, working with staff on the alignment of the 303, it's critically important to us. One of the other maps that was originally prepared showed the alignment of the proposed alignment of the 303 on the land use map is nipping the southwest corner of the waste management site. Working with staff and realizing the fact that you have a natural gas line, you have power lines, and some other infrastructure coming in there, the 303 included, it would be best to try to accommodate all these different types of intense infrastructure uses, and we pushed the alignment, as you can see, of the 303 away from the southwest corner of the landfill so that we can have some engineers look at the detail there and provide for the accommodation of these significant infrastructure installations. So again, we thank Montage, we thank staff for the consideration and the information that we provided to you. Again, it's informational, but we appreciate as a stakeholder your consideration of our concerns. And we're willing to take any questions, and if you have any questions about the operations, again, Vince Murphy, the Director of Operations at the landfill, is here to answer any questions about what we do there.
Thank you.
Mayor, this is the time to ask questions.
Let's finish the public hearing, and then we can call Dustin back if you'd like.
Okay, thanks.
Further comments from the public?
Ed Bull.
Thank you, Mayor. Consul Ed Bull, 702 East Osborne, representing Newland as a neighbor to the immediate north of this proposed general plan amendment. Again, I will be as brief as you and the council allow me to be. I want to emphasize here, as we emphasized in front of the Planning Commission last week, that Newland is certainly not opposed to this general plan amendment. In fact, we're fine with everything that's proposed in the general plan amendment. except for one arterial street that leaves this GPA and comes up into Estrella. The focus in front of the Planning Commission was solely on that arterial, which is Bullard. If you want me to get into excruciating details, I can tonight. My guess would be that's better discussed with staff and RBF and Garth's people and so on and so forth. But that's the focus of our sole concern with respect to this general plan amendment. In that regard, I disagree with one of the things that Brett said earlier in the overview, and I think Brett indicated that we're just at the general plan amendment stage and roadway locations and so on can be decided through the PAD processes. That's true. However, we respectfully disagree with that, in that Newland needs to quickly move from dealing with our circulation general plan amendment to dealing with land uses within Estrella. And from our perspective, the circulation plan is the absolute backbone of the land use plan that we need to work on, and we'll be working with staff and your commission and council over the course of the next year. So we very much want and need and hope your council agrees with deciding this Bullard issue now in conjunction with the general plan amendment processes rather than deferring it until sometime in the future when we hope a PAD we'd be bringing through would be considered consistent with the general plan. Having said that, and I'm sure Garth will correct me if I misspeak, but we've discussed this with Garth and his folks, and it's my understanding that they understand our issue with respect to Bullard and don't disagree with our position with respect to Bullard. And I think importantly, I understand from your city manager that he, in conjunction with city staff, is committed to working with us and others in finding a solution to this issue before we're back here in January. So again, if you have questions, want more detail from us tonight, we'll try to provide it. Otherwise, I just as soon see if we can take care of the issue outside the hearing room and come back in holding hands with everybody being in agreement.
Thank you, sir. Other comments from the public? Comments from the public? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Council, it's a pleasure to respond to some of the questions that have been made or statements that have been made, and I'd be happy to go into them in as much detail as would like. On the commercial corner, I think that looking at the road patterns is going to be a staff comment. It's off of our property, and we really don't have a comment on it other than I think. I apologize. Garth Weger, Montage Holdings, 6720. North Scottsdale Road, Suite 335, 85253. I apologize for that. The commercial corner also, I think, was stated previously that in the smaller sizes that were previously mentioned could be handled in a PAD and may not be something in the context of the commercial plan as outlined. Waste management is very kind. We have worked diligently with them. As it relates to the history of the property, we also had a square mile on the first 690 acres that was permitted with the county for a landfill site. When we first had the opportunity to acquire the property, there was quite a history. There was a suit filed against the individual supervisors. There was a significant concern and challenge in the neighborhood with surrounding property owners, and we felt that in our view that was the initial gateway to the property along Highway 238, and it was exactly the wrong kind of use for the property. That permit exists today, and we can only remove it per our agreement with our investors once the zoning is approved for the property, and that solves a lot of problems for the community permanently. In the initial stages, we went to Waste Management because they had concern with that permit as well, and we let them know up front it is not our intention at all to have a competing landfill in that area. And with their support in working with us on some of these same things, odor, dust, litter, noise, safety, and the visual aspects of their landfill, that we would be more than happy to move forward in conjunction and eliminate that permit, eliminating the cost of legal support, etc. In the process, we've had great opportunity to work with Waste Management, and we have provided for additional buffering for land use adjacent to their property. We've allowed for the rail access, which again was provided to us as a request from them, not just through staff, as well as the 303 movement and some other provisions. We continue to work with Waste Management relative to that area to the west of their property, and our hope is that we can trade some property with them in order to provide better access for their site from not only the rail, but also the future 303. We do this because they are neighbors, and we'll do all that we can for our neighbors in that area, and we've enjoyed the opportunity to do all we can to accommodate them. Relative to the comments that Ed Bull made relative to the property to the north and the road connection, that is actually a road that leaves the state land, and it's not something that we have control over, and I think staff is probably better to address that. We agreed together, the client with Ed Bull in the room and ourselves, that we would support each other in an alignment that really didn't impact us, provided three things took place on their part. One was that the Rainbow Valley Road alignment was in agreement for both parties. The 303 alignment where it entered our property from the north was in agreement, and the last one, which is very important, that they agreed that whatever their comments would not delay our process in any way. And I think Ed would agree that those are the three conditions under which we decided to move forward and support each other. We have a great deal of other information. The information that we have is relatively extensive, but we look forward to the process of moving forward with our PAD. We believe the general plan amendment speaks for itself, and in fact, whether or not an annexation is to take place, it's something that impacts your planning area, which means in the future will give you some ability to work with future owners of that property, whether or not the annexation takes place. We look forward to working with the city in the process of considering annexation, and this is the first step in that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from the public? If you're seeing none, I'll close that public hearing. Call for motion to continue this item to 8 January.
So moved. Second.
Motion from Councilmember Susan, a second from Councilmember Scott. It's open for discussion and comment. Councilmember Holland.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things, and I was hoping that Brett would be able to shed some light on this particular one, and that is that the last public hearing that we had on this particular subject, were all the public comments addressed and closed out?
Mayor Kavanaugh, Councilmember Holland, what staff has done, included in your packet is a spreadsheet that provides all the formal comments that have been made to date, any formal letter that we have received that had any potential concern with any of the land use plan. And in that spreadsheet it shows a summary of the property owner's concern and then a response from the city of Goodyear. In most of those cases, we were able to, through subsequent meetings, make minor changes to the plan to accommodate the vast majority of property owners. There are a few instances where staff has provided a response as to why staff doesn't believe certain minor changes should be made.
And you haven't heard back from those people? It was really those issues I was getting at.
The comments made tonight have included any of the what you might think would be outstanding comments from Mr. Copeland, and Mr. Bull has outlined concerns as well.
That we've addressed them, but we haven't closed them yet.
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, that's correct. A few of the issues we are hopeful that they can be all closed prior to your next meeting. We're hoping that the transportation study will be finished. We will then have more information to be able to close out more of those comments.
Okay, thank you. And I just, one more thing. This had to do with Dustin or Vince or whoever wanted to answer it. And just for clarification, do the trucks come into the waste management facility all night long?
Mayor, Councilmember Holland, the permit that the county granted waste management special use permit has no time limitations. So those trucks could come at any hour of the day. The current operations are, I believe, 4 in the morning to 4 in the evening. So the 12 hours a day, but there is no limitation. As growth occurs, those hours may have to be adjusted, and the uses that could occur in the middle of the night. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Scott?
Yes, why don't you stay up there a second, Dustin? Has the state of Arizona or some lesser agency taken control over what is dumped in that area? In other words, how do we know there's no hazardous material being dumped there?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Scott, I'll defer that to Vince Murphy.
Vince Murphy, Waste Management, 1580 East Elwood, Phoenix, Arizona. Mayor Kavanaugh, Councilmember Scott, we are regulated under EPA regulations, and ADEQ has jurisdiction over the site. We are restricted as far as the types of waste that we can accept. It's typically referred to as municipal solid waste. It does not include hazardous waste, radioactive waste, and similar waste.
So ADQ is defining what constitutes hazardous material. I'm very sensitive to this because of what's going on in Goodyear right now. And ADQ, I believe, was monitoring unit dynamics at one time when trichloroethylene and perchlorates get dumped into the ground. So there's an active role on the part of the state as far as monitoring this landfill?
There is an active role in that they have to review and approve our permit, and they also have oversight through their inspections and compliance unit. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Souza?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A question, please. While your trucks are en route on 238 and on into the landfill itself, what type of containment is made to assure that there isn't debris being spewed across the highways and the terrain in general?
Mayor Kavanaugh, Councilmember Souza, as Dustin mentioned, the bulk of our waste, the majority of our waste comes from waste management transfer stations. 6 transfer stations, to be precise. We have one carrier, Auto Trucking, that hauls the waste for us. They are open-top trailers, but they all have tarps on them. And we work, they are required under our agreement with them to maintain those tarps and use those tarps. The other trucks that come in are typically contained, van trailers, collection vehicles. We're seeing more direct haul, what we call direct haul trucks, which are residential collection trucks, roll-off trucks, and those are all contained as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, I'd like to call for...
See, we're not going to necessarily discuss it, but I just discuss at length ad nauseum this tonight. But just a comment for staff when I was comparing the first general plan amendment that we had this evening on the agenda and this one. Just can you make sure the road alignments match up? It looks to me when I look, at least just generally speaking, at EMR's general plan amendment and the general plan amendment and annexation that the 303 don't necessarily align. And so it just, as I was sitting here looking at it this evening, I don't know if that's something that you all have, I assume that's something you all have discussed.
Mayor, Councilmember Toniak, relative to the 303, there is agreement and they do align.
Okay.
The remaining issue is regards to one arterial street, Bullard Road alignment, which goes into Cotton Lane alignment, and that's the issue that we're still working to resolve prior to your next meeting.
Okay, well, I'm looking at this drawing from Dim Jim Harris, and it looks to me like this comes down to just the way the drawings are. I can show you afterwards. It just doesn't look. They look a half a mile apart, but it's just okay. You guys agree with the move to the 303 to the west a little bit? Okay, that makes sense. And you know, I mean, since I have the microphone, I will state some of these discussions that we're having this evening or comments we're having this evening. I hope staff takes into consideration. I mean, the commercial argument, just because it doesn't fit. We dealt with smaller items on the general plan when we were on the general plan a few years ago, and this guy's 30 years out from development on the steam. This gentleman right here that got up, 5, 10, 40 acres. And let's be reasonable about that. I mean, it does get kind of boring and blasé down there in terms of some of the rural residential activity that's going on down in the south. So just be considerate of that and these folks that are dealing with annexation and things that are coming their way. Don't just get up and tell me it's inadequate or it doesn't fit. Give me a concrete reason when you're up there. And then last but not least, I would hope that there's verbiage about public disclosures in terms of power lines, in terms of roadways, in terms of landfill development. Landfills, not development, but landfills, and that sort of thing as it comes forward.
Okay, thank you.
You said all I wanted to say.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Staff summary of follow-up action.
Just a point of order. I wasn't sure who made the motion on that one.
Dick Sousa and Fred Scott.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the staff follow-up will be to convene meetings with the applicants and other members so that we can resolve the transportation questions, especially in the Bullard alignment, Cotton Lane alignment, ensure that we have the freeway alignment properly connected. We will follow up on the discussion of the commercial use down on Steen Road, I believe 99th Avenue, to see what we can accomplish there. And the other matters that are contained within the minutes, we'll go back and look at those and ensure that we've treated each and every one of those as need to be dealt with in the course of our preparation for the upcoming meeting.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions of the staff of the council to the staff?
Was there a PowerPoint presentation that you used at Planning and Zoning when you presented, Steve?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Antoniak, my presentation, I believe, was only on tape.
Okay, I'll look.
But if you like it, we'll get you a copy.
I'll look at it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Audio.
Would council be agreeable to, as soon as the room clears, to go right to CFP?
Yes.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming, and it's a good meeting. Meeting is adjourned.